The most famous scene in the play is actually in Act 4. It's not Act 5, the comedic reconciliation, but Act 4, which is the hearing scene. Sometimes it's referred to the trial scene, but legally this is important. This is really a hearing scene. This is a matter of civil, not criminal law when it starts. It's a contract dispute. The charge is Shylock is bringing Antonio to court to say you have to sort of pay your bond, and all the Court of Venice can do is issue a ruling on whether this is a legitimate contract or not. And the Court of Venice is, again, we've seen this before, right? We've seen it a couple times at the beginning of the Comedy of Errors and the beginning of Midsummer Night's Dream. They are bound by the law. And Shylock actually makes that logic explicit for the first time. He says, if you try to cheat me, people of Venice or magistrates of Venice, and you don't uphold your own law, your charter will lose its legitimacy. And in a city-state like Venice, which depended on its sense of legitimacy in order so that people from all over could come and trade here, this was critical. If they got to be seen as a place where people of different origins or different faiths couldn't get a fair shake, people literally wouldn't do business there. So he's got them, as he said at one point, on the hip. The Duke says, though, he will be a stony adversary. He is an inhuman wretch, incapable of pity, void and empty from any dram of mercy. That's how the Duke of Venice sees the Jew. This is Act 4, Scene 1. And when Shylock comes in, the Duke says, make room and let him stand before our face. Shylock, the world thinks, and I think so too, that thou but leadest the fashion of thy malice to the last hour of the act. And then 'tis thought thou'lt show thy mercy and remorse more strange than is thy strange apparent cruelty. In short, what the Duke says to him is, I think you're bluffing. I think obviously you hate Antonio and you want to make him suffer, but you're not going to take this all the way, are you? And while he's in some ways calling on a bluff, it's also something of a threat, which is to say, I think I'm the law here, and I think this is where you will stop. He says, where thou now exacts the penalty, which is a pound of this poor merchant's fuss, thou will not only loose the forfeiture, but touch with the human gentleness and love, forgive a moiety of the principal, glancing an eye of pity on his losses that have of late huddled so on his back, enough to press a royal merchant down and pluck commiseration of his state from brassy bosoms and rough hearts of flint, from stubborn Turks and Tartars never trained to officers of tender courtesy. And again, keep in mind, we learned this in Titus Andronicus with dealing with Aaron the Moor. In Shakespeare's imagination, the Jew and the Muslim are conflated. They are both circumcised others, non-Christians. And then the Duke says, we all expect a gentle answer, Jew. And gentle here, we're also punning on the term Gentile. We expect a Gentile answer, Jew. Shakespeare never met a joke he didn't like. Shylock, though, is very quick and very smart. He calls them out and he says, no. He says, this is my choice. He says, you ask me why I do it. He says, I'll not answer that. I'll just say it's my humor. It's my whim. Is it answered? What if my house be troubled with a rat, and I be pleased to give 10,000 ducats to have a band? So what? What are you answered yet? There are men who love not a gaping pig, some that are mad if they behold a cat, and others when the bagpipe sings and the nose cannot contain their urine. In short, I have my whim, I have my eccentricities, but I also have the law on my side. And the law, in this case, is all that matters. This is a matter of the letter of the law, and you've got to uphold that letter of the law, even if it violates your sense of mercy. And Bassiano and all these folks are saying, well, Jew, you have to be merciful. The only way out of it, and this sets up the whole scene here, is the Jew has to provide what the Christians say they have provided the world, which is a pure gift, a perfectly merciful sense of forgiveness. And keep in mind the two words, I talked about the gift earlier in some earlier tutorials, but forgiveness, of course, is just like that. If we never give, we also really never forgive. Do you know what I mean? We have that old expression, I forgive, but I never forget. That is to say, we forgive someone, but when we say we forgive someone, what we really mean is, well, we've renegotiated, right? We've come to the point where I'm going to stop being angry about this. But you never quite forgive in the sense that you forget. Indeed, a sort of perfect forgiveness would be a complete forgetting. And that's something we never do. So this is where Shylock has them. with them, the Christians of the court, the Christians of Venice, demanding of Shylock that he be perfectly merciful or giving in the way Christians themselves are supposed to be.